Hagerman, and with me is Jim Pickens. And Jim, this is where it gets going. We are now in the playoffs. The preliminaries are over.
That's right.
Before we start talking about the playoff games, what was your impression of the regular season?
Well, I think in general for our area, I thought it was a little bit down, frankly. I think that there were some teams that I expected to do a little bit better this year that didn't do that. I think that but then you counter that a little bit with Owensboro Catholic. I can't stress enough. 3-8 last year really struggled that last year, and then they come back and go 9-1. So it always evens out a little bit. But I thought overall, we were a little down. I think that hopefully in the future we'll, especially now with this new system where we've got all of our 4 city teams in different classes, that really bodes well for the future if they can become competitive, because we can cheer for 4 state champions right here in town.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, we got a lot to talk about, but we're going to start out with the 5A. I think this presents really one of the real key games in the entire state. We've got number 9. Grayson County coming into Rash Stadium to play number 10 Owensboro. It's a rematch of last year. Owensboro handled Grayson relatively easy last year.
Right.
And it was really all the same scenarios as this year. Mm-hmm. But I got a feeling this year is going to be much tougher than last year for the Red Devils.
I think it will be tougher. I think that Grayson County is a little better, and I think that Owensboro isn't quite as good as they were a year ago at this time. I think there's some key factors for that, but with Cal Prince being out, he's such a big gun in that offense and everything, Scott. I think that there's some uncertainty on that offensive side with your leader out. Mm-hmm. And so I think that really works in Grayson's favor, because on the other side of the coin there, they've got a great leader in Hunter Gary, who is a veteran, hard-nosed quarterback, very effective runner, runs the option really well, also can throw well when they need to, and they like to throw. They don't like to throw really on third down and everything. They like to throw sometimes on first down when you don't think it's coming. So they're well coached, and this is a very good team. That their defense has been excellent all year. They gave up less points than any other team in 5A in all of Western Kentucky. So that speaks volumes for them.
We'll touch on that in just a second. Let me throw a couple different things at you. Mm-hmm. Grayson was off last week. Owensboro loses to Henderson 17-14. Is there an advantage in that mix anywhere? You feel like, is Grayson greatly benefited by being off a week? Does Owensboro gain momentum by having played a tough game against Henderson? Who has the edge in that regard?
I think it falls even the way the week played out, because I think Grayson was able to get some nagging injuries healed up. That's always, every team does that on their idle week, Also, Grayson was able to go scout that particular game, knowing that that's who they were playing. Right. I mean, they probably had every coach they've got there. And so they've got unbelievable scouting report on Owensboro, but at the same time, Owensboro goes over against a very good Henderson team on the road. You know how hard it is to win over there.
Absolutely.
And they play very well, and they had a chance to win that game. So I think that they'll come back thinking that, hey, we're ready for the playoffs. I really think Owensboro will think that.
Do you make anything of this? One common opponent, it was Bowling Green. Owensboro loses to Bowling Green at home 44-20, the middle of September. Grayson loses to Bowling Green 41-27 at home first week of October. So score-wise, it looks dead even. Does that lead us to believe this game is that even?
Yeah, I think it's a close matchup, yes. And not just because of that, but I just think that Grayson's defense is so good, and then you've got an Owensboro offense. I'm talking about, you're talking about a quarterback situation that's just been uncertain. These guys have done a good job in relief. They really have. But it's still uncertain, and it's still now the playoffs. Right. You're going to throw new guys into the playoffs here, and that gives I think that adds a dimension to it that wasn't there last year. I think Grayson's defense will maybe do some things different than they would if Cal Prince was running the show.
Right.
Yeah.
You talked about the defense. They gave up 41 to Bowling Green. They gave up 24 to Warren Central. Butler gets a field goal. Todd gets a safety. 6 teams don't even get on the board against Grayson. 6 shutouts is impressive regardless of who you're playing. Is this defense too tough for Owensboro?
It could be. Here's the thing. It could be too tough between the tackles, between the 20s. The key thing on Grayson here in this game For them to win the game, they've got to prevent the big play. The big play burned them last year. They had a good team last year. If you remember, they were 9-1, and happened to finish. They had an awkward 3-way tie for first last year, and just by chance, Grayson wound up with the 3rd spot. But I tell you what, they gave up the big play. Owensboro seized momentum early and really won that game relatively easy. Relatively easy. That's going to come into play again this week because. One thing you can't prepare for, Scott, I don't care what anybody says, you can't prepare for pure speed.
Right.
And that's what Owensboro has that Grayson doesn't have.
Right.
And if they contain Owensboro, they'll win the game. Because I think as far as their defense against Owensboro's offense, they're going to be able to hang in there, but they cannot give up the big play.
Right.
They can't afford to.
So the big question, who do you see winning it?
Well, I see Owensboro winning this game, and I've got them by a touchdown. And it's one of those deals where I look back on the history of this series. They've played 8 times, and Owensboro has won 8 games, and they've only had one close game in there. I think it was 24-20 early in Joe Prince's career as head coach when Owensboro wasn't very strong.
Right.
And so I'm going to, kind of like the odds makers here, I'm looking at a lot of factors in this game because it's such a tough one to call. I kind of look back at the history, and I think it would be unprecedented for Grayson to win, but that doesn't mean Grayson can't win. I'm just picking. I'm picking Owensboro based on some history here and also being at home.
I agree with you 100%.
Yep.
If this game was at Grayson, I'd be real tempted to pick Grayson to win it. But the combination of rash, the combination of the tradition, it just tilts a little too much in Owensboro's favor.
That's how I see it.
I believe in this one. Ohio County at Warren Central. Ohio County coming off the win over McLean, but boy, Warren Central looked better every week this year. Any chance of a surprise here?
The only chance of a surprise here is if Warren Central is looking ahead. And what I mean by that is Ohio County is a little bit of a dangerous team to look past. And why? Because Cody Murphy is there. And they've also got Joel Skipworth. It's a good 1-2 ground attack. And before you know it sometimes, if Ohio County takes care of the football, they've actually got a chance to stay in this game for a while because of that. Right. I mean, they have some weapons. I mean, these guys are pretty good, and if you're catching Warren Central on a night where they're looking forward to the next week, because you know this 5A playoff system, it would be easy to look ahead. In a 4-1 matchup there. But
let me speak to that.
Yeah, go.
We have 5 teams in this regional ranked in the top 10. I mean, this is a very tough 5A.
Yep.
Let's mention the other 2 games. Sure. Barron County at Christian, Madisonville North, Hopkins at Bowling Green. I don't think either one of us can see any scenario where Barron can beat Christian. What about Madisonville Bowling Green? Is this a closer game than you probably think it would be?
I think it could be because I think there's a lot of factors. Bowling Green's banged up here late in the season. They've got some issues personnel-wise with injuries. Madisonville North Hopkins, you know, I've been in their corner all year, and they almost beat Owensboro. Field goal beat them at the end, and then they take Apollo and just really beat them handily last week. This is a very good 5-5 team. They've got an excellent quarterback, and Trey Carr is their quarterback, and he can do it all. And if Bowling Green's not ready to play, they could be in some trouble in this game. But I still pick Bowling Green at home. Yeah,
well, no question, the 5A region is just going to be a free-for-all as we move down the road.
It's going to get exciting.
Well, we got a lot more to talk about. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.